And we all know there are a lot of big tech companies. They're trying to build their own blockchain or the chain under other names, such as Ant Chain, and also like and has built something very similar. So in your recent collaborations with several brands such as McDonald's China and Oreos, in addition to being compliant in China, what other advantages does that give Conflux, and what makes McDonald's and Oreo and other brands choose Conflux?
Sure. Okay, so I think there are three main points I'd like to illustrate here. So firstly, Conflux is actually an open public network. It's an infrastructure itself are not going after business purposes, profit making or like profit maximizing for its shareholders. It's not the purpose of Conflux. So actually the clients that have been deployed their NFT on Conflux is not served by Conflux directly. For example, McDonald's and Oreos are all served by a third-party technology company called Cold Coffee.
Mm.
So they serve their clients and they help their clients to deploy on Conflux. So they actually make the money. So we encourage ecosystem companies to find out its own business model and make money, and then like make it a successful entrepreneurship. So that's the first thing that we help people to make a living here, right? And also we allow people to be tech free. So we actually launch a platform called TPI, which is very similar to eBay or Taobao that allow people simply to get onboarded and sell their NFTs or digital collections on the TPI platform. Or even the TPI platform itself is open sourced, right? So that people who would like to build their own platform, let's say if McDonald's or Oreo or even Starbucks want to build their own platforms, they would be able to leverage on the open source code of TPI to build on their own platforms. So it's actually a very open and transparent infrastructure that we are offering to the world. We are not going after profits. Our target is actually going after the adoption of the Conflux network. The profit or the revenue is not our first target. So that's why we are very open and friendly to the ecosystem partners. Okay. So that means if we benefit other people, if other people can make money or actually attract their clients on our platform, we are very supportive. Okay.
Mhm.
So that,
So in yeah, more of like a enabler.
yeah,
So yeah, and for TPI platform, that's something that merchants or brands they can participate in, as well as just like individual consumers like myself can also participate to buy and also maybe like list if I'm an individual artist.
yeah, exactly. Very open, like marketplace, merchants of enterprise or individual artists, or like cartoon makers, right? Or even, like blind boxes companies, and they would like to have their digital blind boxes. They are all very welcome. They will have several sections, and some big enterprises will be verified. And also even for individual artists who have a lot of followers on TikTok, on Weibo, on Kuaishou, they will be also verified through like social networking verification. And also, as long as you have followers, you have users, you have people who love your product or your service or your culture or your artwork, you will be able to monetize on such platforms. So that's the spirit, right? Being open and offering infrastructure to enable other people to make their dream come true here. So that's the first thing I think we are very different from the big internet companies, where their goal is actually to seek profit maximization. So the second point I'm going to talk about is the restriction on the technology front. So think about like for you to work with Tencent or Ant for working on their consortium chains. Basically, the functions, the features you can have for your NFTs are decided by these big enterprises.
Mhm.
If they say you're not transferable, you will not be transferred, right? If they say you're not tradable, you won't be able to trade with other counterparties. It simply restrict your functions. However, on the public chain, the developers for their clients or for themselves decide how they want their NFTs can be used. They can say, okay, this is non-transferable, or they can say this is transferable after a certain period of time, or they can say This is transferable only among whitelists. But this is all up to the developer themselves. It's not up to the Conflux network. They are able to define such feature or functions in the smart contracts. However, on Ant blockchain or Tencent blockchain, basically you're restricted. You have to listen to the blockchain, them such big companies, they're the head of their blockchain. And also they have a lot of burdens given they are large enterprises, right? So they're very afraid of if the blockchain business actually affect their business in other areas. So they are very cautious and conservative in such area. But that may not be a good thing for new startups, right? Where they want to fight for opportunities. So that's where I think you restrict the functions and the features for, a lot of new people. And thirdly, which also I think is very kind of a monopoly and Web2's thinking, is that most of such NFTs are only allowed to show within their own platforms. For example, for all the NFTs you purchased on Alipay, which is deployed on on-chain, you will only be able to see such pictures displayed within Alipay, not anywhere else. So this is no different from having a picture in Alipay, right? It's more like a skin of your QQ in early days.
Mhm.
It's,
Yeah, you actually made it in your Ali application, but when you
yeah,
switch another application, it's no longer there. And if it's not
yeah,
there, you
because
thought there's
yeah,
right.
yeah, because the data is not accessible by other developers. Nobody will be able to serve your digital assets
Mhm,
except Ali or Ant blockchain allow it.
mhm, mhm,
Well, when you consider a picture as your digital assets, it's not just it's not just a picture, but an asset is actually you decided how to use it. As long as there are people who like to serve your NFT, you will be able to see it on multiple platforms. Either it offer the functions of deep display, trading, social, or even auctions, or even fractions. So, but it's all allowed by the public chain, and the people will come for services as long as there's a market, and the users will be able to decide where and how you want to interact with the blockchain and disposing their own NFT assets. So that's totally the difference between the Web 2 and Web 3, where I think that's where the two different directions you're taking a public chain and a consortium chain heading towards. It's two different paths. And gradually, the people who work with those big internet enterprises, we actually going into a very narrow directions, and the people will only see their pictures in a very, restricted scenarios. And if big enterprises actually failed or suffered pressure from the government, and your pictures may just be gone.
So that's kind of like the opposite of decentralized, which is you can only display something on your own platform. And also some of the features, such as like trading, transactions, even like fraction, auction, those kind of like features are not permitted on the end chain and also like Tencent chain and other.
But it's dictatorship, right?
Mhm. Like
By
the
the
platform displays what
yeah,
features.
it's not up to you. It's up to them. And also the data are not accessible by other developers. So that means you can only served by the people who sell it, right? If it's sold in Alipay and it's can only be served by the people from the Ali ecosystem, maybe not anybody else. So you will never see your NFTs if you bought it on Alipay, but you will never be able to see in WeChat, never be able to see it in Tencent's ecosystem. So that's called Web 2, right?
Mhm.
Big giants against each other. That's not decentralized.